Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Yep, it's the world's most dangerous morning show, The Breakfast Club. Charlamagne the God, Angela Yee. DJ Envy is not here because he is on a college tour with his daughter, showing his daughter around the country at different colleges. But we got somebody from his hood here.
Jamila Davis is here.
Queens, what's happening?
Queens in the building.
So did you know Envy growing up? Did you see?
I did not know Envy, but Envy was known through his mixtapes.
Okay, but he was. Did you ever see him outside?
He wasn't outside.
I don't want to say. I mean, he did his partying. He did his stuff because he came up around the same time as DJ Clue.
Okay.
So DJ Clue and him kind of were like along the same. And then Steve Styles' brother, Scarecrow was like really good friends with him. So, he did his thing. He came up.
Envy told me he was known for busting his gun in Queens. That's true? Any truth to that?
Okay. I don't know him for that, but he's done some positive
Envy never
things
said
in the
that.
community.
Stop. He never said
He
that.
done some positive things in the community. Shout out to Shadyville, okay? We definitely got some legendary people from our hood that have done some amazing things, including Envy, so shout out to Envy.
Now, let's tell people who you are.
Yeah, let's talk about you, Jamila Davis, and what you've been through, because we have your book here, The High Price I Had to Pay, okay? And
She's an advocate for incarcerated women and criminal justice reform.
They did a special on you on CBS 2 on Pink Collar Crime.
Yes. So I've been home now. I served 9-year sentence, 12.5-year sentence, of which I served 9 years in the feds. Wow. I've been home for about 20 months. And, I'm just grateful to be free, a second chance at life.
You fresh out.
Well, you know what I mean? A little fresh.
So let's talk about what you went to jail for.
Okay, well, for bank fraud. So basically, back in the days, I was the credit girl. Mm-hmm. I was the girl that could take your credit score from a 400 to 700 and change overnight. So I was the person that got, like, a lot of rappers and people in the hood, their cars and entertainers and stuff like that. So I was the finagler of the credit.
Okay, so
I mean, you know what? That seems like a good thing, though.
It's a good thing, except the way that it was happening.
Correct.
Because you met somebody that taught you how you could make it happen without doing it legally.
Correct. So basically, Charlamagne, I always rode the fine line. You know, there's a legit way to do things, and then there's a gray area. And oftentimes, a lot of business people play the gray area, but I played the gray area and got caught. So we had contacts inside the credit bureaus, right? So that's not legal. And basically, we just had people to go in and do what they did. Right. Now, you could do credit repair legally, like go through the formalities and stuff like that, but that's not what we was doing. So basically, I got caught up in that whole situation, and I ended up getting some time. Not time, but time. I got one of the largest sentences.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels excessive.
Yeah, it was definitely excessive. But in my case, I was doing a lot of things. So I had a history of doing this. So basically, for me, I had a lot of contacts. I was living a high life before these new set of rappers, before social media, like before it was whatever. I was like doing a lot of big things. And so when I came on the Fed's radar, I had a Maybach, I had houses in the hills. Wow. I was living the life. My case is a $30 million fraud case, and I was just doing my thing, and I really didn't feel like, it was nothing.
It didn't feel so illegal. It felt like if you got caught, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
You know why I felt in my heart that it was okay? Because in my case, we bought homes, right? Sold them, fixed them up and sold them, flipped them, but again, taking these shortcuts. So I went from credit to the mortgage stuff. So this all kind of like intertwined. So pretty much we had a hookup in a bank, Lehman Brothers Bank. And with that hookup, they was pushing paper through. So this was at the time where people didn't understand why the financial crisis was occurring. It's because the banks didn't care. They was giving you incentives to push paperwork through. So in my case, they told us what to do, fix this, change that, fix. So I'm like, yo, the bank is down.
Yeah, they're telling me to do it. That doesn't seem illegal. It seems like it might not be ethical.
Correct. But at the end of the day, so when it all fell down, I was pretty much the fall guy because, no, we didn't know. So everybody put their hands up. But in my case, 59 days after I was sentenced to 12.5 years in federal prison, Lehman collapsed, and then they was exposed for all the fraud.
So they were doing that with a lot of people.
Been doing
clearly.
This was the culture.
Because they tried to say that you scammed them out of like $14 million.
But again, like I said, they were the one. They was coaching us. Fix this, change that.
Right.
They knew what it was hitting for. And again, in my mind, I didn't look at it like I was scamming. I'm selling the houses. I'm buying these houses. So let me just take you back in context,
Please.
right? I was one of the first African Americans to go into like Alpine and Saddle River. So before Diddy was there, I think Kim had just came there. Before Mary was there. This was like when me and my partner came in and we started having these hip hop parties.
And this is a neighborhood that's very
affluent.
Yes.
So it's one of
You
the
made the block hot.
yeah. I guess
Because like, who is that? Does she rap?
correct.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was kind of, and then I didn't help it. So we in a culture, you remember the Spreewell rims and all that?
Yeah,
So
spinning joints,
yeah.
yeah.
So me and my partner, we had a fleet of cars, Spreewells on everything. We rolling through the
That
hood.
look
You know what I
crazy
mean?
in Alpine.
So people are now looking like, yo, who are they? Are they basketball players? Because that's the stereotype. If we are affluent, we have to be either a rapper,
yeah.
a basketball player, or then we're drug dealers. So it started off with we're drug dealers. So we are now, they didn't know what we was doing, but we raised question marks by the lifestyle of us coming and flipping. And then another thing, rich people don't fix homes. Okay? They knock them down.
Right.
They buy new
Start
homes.
over.
They don't renovate homes.
Yeah,
they don't
yeah,
come in
yeah.
a house. Nah. They want their house set up. So we did something that wasn't happening in Alpine. We went in and did complete renovations from top to bottom. So that also raised eyebrows like, who are these people? But for me, I was a black girl that saw my partner doing this in the hood. And I said, you know what? If you're making that kind of money renovating houses in the hood, what if we dared to go over here and do it over here? How much money could we make?
So y'all
He
should've
like,
said you think
yo, oh yeah. And so we had an innovative idea. We were ahead of our time. But again, the shortcut was what messed us up.
right.
I think I've been to one of them parties in Alpine. I'm
You-
dead ass
you
serious.
probably
'Cause
did.
It was a like, I was like, I remember always hearing about Alpine because Lil' Kim used to live
Yes,
there.
yes.
And then we went there one night for like a big ass house party. And I was like, yo, this is a dope ass
And that's
crib.
crazy. And that's probably because that's how I would get my customers in. So
It's like 07.
Oh, so you would have a party that people would see where it was that you were.
Correct. So it was a part of, and even the cars. So I wanted the fly cars, but the Bentleys and all that, I did that so that we could get noticed by the ball players. I had already had the rappers on Smash, but I wanted to get into the lane of knowing the ball players. So how do you get to know people? You got to pull up, right?
Yeah,
People,
yeah.
Half of the time, people are never going to your house.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be a pull up. So my pull up game was nice. So I used to pull up, and they like, oh, what's up?
Who's that? That's somebody important.
So that's how I started. And then I started talking to the people, getting their contacts, and then I started making them my clients.
I'm gonna tell you how I know I'm a fucked up person because I still haven't heard what you done wrong yet. I'm just trying to figure out where's the crime come into play.
The crime is manipulating paperwork.
Okay.
So somebody might make $100,000, $200,000 a year, and I would make them make, $400,000.
So that they would
$500,000.
qualify to
Correct.
be able to get the mortgage, to be able to buy the home.
Was this hurting anyone? Were you taking money from any other sources?
No, sir. But I got to take responsibility because this is really, really important because I struggled with that in prison. I'll tell y'all about my prison life too, but I struggle with that because you can't really get relief from something till you really admit that you're not a victim. Now, I'm not a victim in regards to I did this. You know what I'm saying? When I tell you I took the people money. Now, I did this. But I didn't look at it as being something bad because I felt like I was paying it back. I had real customers. My clients were successful.
You were
but
helping them get homes.
And that's pretty much, they call me like the Black Robin Hood because even in, the crime they caught me for is an upscale crime, but I came into my community and I wanted to educate people about credit. I helped so many people buy homes that probably would have never had homes before because I gave them information that they didn't have access to. And so that's how I also became friends with a lot of rappers because they had money and they had deals, but they didn't have credit. So if you don't got credit, you really not going too far with that little advance check that they gave you and the rollie that they gave you and told you to come up.
Right.
So they would come see me and I'm like, all right, yo, take that little money right here. This is how we going to do this. And I kind of was like the financial advisor for the hood.
So what were you doing that credit repair specialists weren't doing?
She wasn't really fixing their credit. She was changing their credit score.
Correct. So I was taking off all the derogatories illegally. So basically, I had a hookup. I had the hookup inside. I'm like, yo, fix this, fix that, change that, and it was done. So it's not the proper procedure.
It's like changing your grade.
Yeah.
And that's
I
not the
feel
grade
like
you earned.
these rich corporate people do that all the time.
Now,
They do.
that is a fact.
They do.
Yeah.
That is a fact. So even with the bank crisis, the financial crisis, and everybody scamming, I got like one of the largest sentences out of everybody, and people took billions of dollars, like for real,
Right.
Well, you're a black woman.
Yes, and that's another thing. So let's talk about that and the disparity of sentences. So basically, when I'm in court, they looking at me like I'm the Al Capone type. Like, how dare she? Like, it was like they were infuriated. Like the fact that this black girl dared to come, and the judge told me that on my sentence today. He said, "Why didn't you stay in Newark or?" he said, why didn't you stay in Newark or South Orange or not South Orange? I'm sorry, I was just talking
That's
about
where
Lauren
my mom
Hill
lives.
and her life and where she grew up. But East Orange, like, why didn't you go to the hood? And I found that to be degrading. That you felt like, okay, you know, it was okay for me to commit a crime, but
Don't be around these white people committing a crime.
I
Stay
kind of
in your
thought that
neighborhood.
too, though. I'm gonna be honest with you, because when you said about moving to Alpine, I was like, well, why not continue to do that in the hood?
The
Because then
thing
you
is
can
that
build
it
the
makes
hood
you a
up.
target because people are looking at you and you're doing flossy stuff and you stand out.
all right.
And
And let
why
me
not,
answer
though?
your question.
Yeah.
Because let's talk about the difference of me making $50,000 off a deal or making $500,000 off a deal.
Got you.
So at the end of the day, I looked at the money. I've always been
Yeah.
smart. So for me, I'm looking at, okay, I could do the same amount of work for the same less time. And to be honest with you, it's easier to get a $3 million loan than it is to get a Honda Accord at times. Okay? Because when you going for that kind of money, they expect you to be, you know, what you are. So it was easy to move that. So it would have took me 10 years maybe to get the type of money that I got in a couple months playing with Alpine and Saddle River. So that's
Right.
why I did it.
And these
Black
banks
people
really
are
just want to get
amazing,
your
bro.
money anyway, so they'll push some stuff through.
They pushed it through. They didn't care because at the end of the day, it's their bottom line. They get paid off of commissions and sales.
So now let's talk about your sentence. And you got a very harsh sentence. What about your lawyer? Was your lawyer like a great lawyer, or did you feel like there were some things that your lawyer dropped the ball on?
Y'all getting into some stuff. Sugar. Okay, well, let me say this first of all. My U.S. attorney was Christopher Christie. And on
Christie.
Yep.
The Jersey governor, Chris.
On my sentencing day, let's
Oh my
talk about
God.
this now. Now you're talking about stuff that nobody ain't really talked to me about before.
Yeah.
But on my sentencing day, he said justice has been served in America. Okay. Now, the part of my case that I don't really care to talk about often because I don't like playing a victim role. Because once you start playing a victim role, then you become angry black woman. And I got that in me. You
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
what I'm saying?
But you acknowledged the wrong you did. So it's
But
cool.
let me tell you about them. So at the end of the day, really, this was all a scam because they knew what the properties were worth. So I purchased these properties in 2002 for $17 million. And the way I got the properties, a lot of the people were going through divorces or they were having difficult times financially. So we went in and negotiated some incredible deals.
Right.
Okay?
Because they didn't want to foreclose.
Correct.
Maybe they would rather sell it to you and
Correct.
then lose their
And not a
homes.
whole bunch of people are buying houses that need repairs in these areas because I told you what rich people do.
Right.
They knock them down. So I went in with my partner. We negotiated hell of a deals. So we got these properties for $17 million. And then I put about another $4 or $5 million in renovations into these properties, right? So this is in 2002. Now, 2004 was one of the biggest real estate boosts in recent history. So the property values almost doubled within that time frame because that's how values were going up. So by the time the feds got on to me, my properties were worth 30-something million dollars. We was good. Are you following what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the problem that we had was the bank's attorneys knew where the properties were located. Like some were next door to the Haagen-Dazs owner. Like we had, all the properties I had were estates. So these were houses with indoor pools, saunas, tennis courts, like official estates. So they wanted the properties.
Right.
So here goes the game. So this is the fraud within the fraud. So now you've identified this black girl and her team going in to do all of these renovations on all of these houses that are now worth 30-something million dollars. Now the key to the game is to get the properties back so you can sell them to your homeboys.
Oh, so they seized those properties from you.
Yeah. So what they did was they went through Chris Christie's office, worked out a deal with the U.S. Attorney's Office to get the properties back for $1 a piece. Okay?
Oh my God.
Check this out. So now they fighting me so hard because the first thing that happened, once I found out that I was under federal investigation, I got an attorney. My attorney was a $100,000 attorney. I cut the check. Go over there, figure out what needs to be done, get me up out of this. So my attorney says to me, listen, Jamila, as long as you get the bank back their money, you're pretty much good. So let's explain how feds work. Feds, when you dealing with fraud, it's all based on lost amount. Okay? So if there's no loss, your time is very minimal. But if there's a lot of loss, you're going to do some time. So the object of the game was to get them paid off in full so that there would be no loss. So I'm like, okay, no problem. So I sent 2-3 investors into the U.S. Attorney's Office to pay them off in full, meaning the bank would have been done. There would have been no money lost by anybody. And guess what they did? They blocked all of the people that I brought into the office. So meaning once they would come in, show their paperwork, FBI agent would call them and be like, yo, you close this deal if you want to. I'm going to make your life a living hell.
Wow.
Stuff like that. It's all documented. So if you take a look at my book, like what I did, I wrote this book when I was behind bars, and I got infuriated about the way that they handled me. So I just said, you know what? I'm throwing everybody's name up here. I'm throwing everything that was done to me. I'm doing a tell-all about the system and what happened. You feel me? So I wrote this book with names, details, everything about what happened. You understand what I'm saying?
So if they would have been allowed to pay off everything at the bank, you would have never went to jail.
I might have got
less time.
18 months tops.
Right.
So what was the amount?
So look at what they did. So now they sold the properties back to their friends for a $14 million discount. So basically, they got the properties for $1, right? And then they sold them to their friends for like $14 million. How are you selling these properties for $14 million when I bought them for 17 and I put 5 in them? So it was all a scam.
Yeah.
And then within days after they bought the properties, they sold them to each other and made upward $10 million. So I did the time for the crime, but then they did a crime in the midst of the crime, and it was all like whatever. So at the end of the day, this is Chris Christie and all his friends. So you talking about the good old buddies club. This is their friends.
All the white collar criminals.
Yes. So
and you ain't white.
Hey, bingo.
So how dare you do
those
this?
are where the real crimes happen, because so drug dealers or whatever they get, when they get their stuff seized, all of where their properties go and all of this kind of stuff, this is the good old boys club is now allowed to commit fraud within the fraud, and nobody ever investigates it.
Yeah, you never even think about that.
Because they're the chief kahunas.
And nobody's even talking about it.
Yeah, and nobody even knows about it. And the people that know are so scared. So where I got the big, and that's why they sentenced me to the time, because I wouldn't shut up. They wanted me to, let us get the properties back, make this money. If I shut up and went to the corner and fell back, I probably would have got 3 years, 4 years. They'd have been like, whatever. But I was adamant, like, no, make sure the bank gets paid back. And because I went so hard to make sure everybody got paid back and did what I needed to do, I got hit. And the hit was, we going to bury her. We going to make sure that this little black chick that thinks she all of that, she going to die in there. And when she died, that's the end of this. But this book, I said, no, I'm not going to die. I'm going to live. And this book right here, when I wrote this book, because what they was suing me, they was going after me. They didn't sue my parents. When I wrote that book and I went public, silence. Shh. Nobody talk no more. Then they realized, like, okay, hold up. This chick right here, she's something to be playing. You can't play with her because she's going to expose it. Then it was just a difference of that. So I tell people out there, like, if you going through something, talk, man. Mm-hmm. You can't be afraid to say what you feel, because talking at the end of the day might bring you some redemption.
So what did you think when you heard your sentence?
Angela, I ain't even going to hold you up. When the man said 12 and a half years, little old me, how could I do that type of time?
Was that your first offense?
That wasn't my first offense, but I never did jail time, so I never did nothing to go to prison. So I'm like, 12 and a half. I couldn't even see that. I had 2 small kids. One was 9 and one was 11 years old. So I'm like, damn, I'm not going to see my kids to college? I just wanted to die. And to be honest with you, I asked God to take my life. I'm like, I can't do this. But in the midst of that, the best thing occurred for me. So let's talk about me. I was all about materialism. You know what I'm saying? I already told you the Bentleys, the furs, the jewelry. Like, any of your rappers that know me, like, they like, I had more jewelry than the rappers, the chicks, the everything. I was just doing my thing. And that is what controlled my life. I had that mentality that money really meant something. So even with my kids, like, they had nannies, cars, all kind of stuff, but they didn't have me. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't until I got hit with this sentence that God was able to work on me. Like, Jamila, what are your priorities? What are you worshiping? What are you serving? If today is your last day on this planet, what legacy have you left behind? Mm. What good have you done that I could call you my good and faithful servant? I hadn't done nothing. So at that point is when the shift happened. And I'm like, you know what, God, whatever you want to do with me with this sentence, use me to get it right and let me live my life on purpose. And at that point, basically now, that's when I got into the women that were there. So I started looking at the other women.
Pause. Mm-hmm. No, I'm just saying pause.
Yeah. So basically, like, pause and look at what your situations are and what are your gifts. So clearly I was this young girl that had a gift. I always had the ability to make money. Mm-hmm. I always had the ability to help people find their gifts and to put people onto different things. But I was basically what you call prostituting my anointing. So I was using a gift that God gave me, but in a way that he didn't intend me to use it for. I'm trying to help celebrities and this one and that one. I'm supposed to be helping God's kids.
Right. That's why I said earlier, I was like, black people are amazing. And it's like, whatever we choose to put our energy into,
Facts.
we can make successful, good or bad.
Facts. And I was doing it for the bad. So to sit down was everything. So behind bars, I learned I could write. Right. And I've written now over a dozen books. I never dreamed that I was created to be a writer. I never sat down enough time to do anything except go chase money. So I learned to write. I read hundreds of books. So now, like, I was always smart, but I never really had time to take in new information.
And focus.
Yes. So that time, I'm like, okay, cool. You know what? I'm about to shift. And then I started loving the women that I was around. And I started realizing that incarcerated women are not bad people. These are broken people. These are women that got heart. Because usually women that commit crimes, they got some heart to them. But it's misfocused. It's misguided. So it's like doing that fix inside. So as I went on my own spiritual path to like change my inner being, I created a series called the Voices of Consequences Enrichment Series to help incarcerated women heal, recognize their potential, and recapture their dreams. And what happened was my book started going into facilities across the world. So as a prisoner, I would get letters from women telling me how I changed their life and how I've given them hope. And that gave me hope.
Right.
And I saw that you also were locked up with Lauryn Hill.
Oh, yes. Lauren changed my life. Like, Lauren is a sister, mentor, friend. Like, people don't really know the wisdom that this girl has. Like, it's next level. Like, nothing that I've ever witnessed or encountered before.
It reflects in her music, though.
Yeah.
I think so.
I mean, it definitely reflects, but I'm saying it's even 10 times more potent than that.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say she's prophetic. Like, this girl will sit with you and tell you stuff and be like, nah, this is not right, fix it. To be honest with you, everything that I'm doing now, like, I started a whole movement with women coming from behind bars and stuff like that. Lauren gave me that concept. She's like, all right, this is what you want to do. Now you take this story. I need you to get these girls. And so Lauren and I started recording women coming home from prison. So we kind of formed a production company together. And while I was locked up, she would email me every single day, 4, 5, 6 times a day, giving me fuel and energy. Like, yo, Queen, you got this, blah, blah, blah. This is what you need to do. And it was her guidance that really shifted me and got me focused for my exit.
How long were y'all locked up together?
We was only locked up with each other for 90 days, but then we stayed in contact with each other for 4 years after her exit till I came home.
What kind of inmate was Lauren?
Oh, Lauren was a rebel. Lauren is an Angela Davis. First of all, she had it made. So she came in, you know, like, I was like one of the OGs in the prison. So, like, you know what I mean? I'm moving and shaking what needs to move and shake. Like, yo, you good. Like, you know, so prison is kind of set up a little different. You know, you got your house Negroes and you got your field Negroes. So it's no different than that system. So, you know, if you in the house Negroes, they run everything. They got it all set up. And the field Negroes work outside. So when we seen Lauren, she became a house Negro. She stayed in the bed. She chilled out. I mean, it's real crazy.
I know, it just sounds
and it's
weird.
sad, though.
Right.
Because house Negroes do jobs 10 minutes a day. We go, boop, boop, fix our stuff, boom. Hi, Warden, how you doing? But the field Negroes, they work 8-hour shifts, mowing lawns, like, it's crazy.
Wow,
Yeah, so it almost causes a divide because you have the people that run the prison, which are inmates. So the guards in women's facilities generally don't run the prison. It's the inmates that are the people that they put in position that run the sector. So I was like pretty much you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when Lauren came in, I'm like, all right, you work with me. We're going to work together now. So we did our 10 minutes together, and then we would walk the tracks for hours and hours on end, talking, building, planning. Yo, let's fix this. Let's do this. And that was like my sister from another mister. Like, I've never had, to this day, a connection with another female that empowered me in so many ways.
Y'all still cool now?
Yeah, we definitely still cool.
Right.
You know, she's doing her thing with her music. When I came home, I think it was a little bit different because, like, I'm a boss in my own right, right? So meaning I'm used to getting my own money. I don't want to be nobody's, you know, flunky. I want to do what I do. So I think in regards to us, you know what I'm saying? It was about me coming home, finding my space, getting comfortable and familiar with my ground. And now it's like, okay, now we can meet back up. I just want to, you know, bring my worth to the table.
Right.
And, you know, we go from there.
How did you adjust, though? Because you are used to a certain lifestyle. So after coming home from 12 and a half.
Charlamagne, y'all asking all the
You've been home 20
y'all
months.
do this. Y'all do this. Y'all do this.
How did you adjust?
It was bad because now, again, like I said, I always lived a very grand lifestyle. So I came home to live with my parents in their humble home in Queens Village. No disrespect, but they're big difference than what I lived and was accustomed to. And then I just had to get right. Like, I came home, I saw all my friends that was in position wasn't really in position no more. So it's like, damn, and I just went back to using my gifts, but the right way. Like, okay, let me help get my people back together. And then just things started lining up. But the biggest challenge has been not going on that gray line, because I know how to do it. I know how to go put something together real quick and make it happen. But I knew that if I go back and do that, like once the feds is watching you, like you can't do anything. It's a wrap. So I said I got to do things integrally. So it's just what it is. It's a constant struggle. But now that I'm working hard for it and I'm getting it back, because God is blessing me, and I'm getting things that I never imagined or dreamed that I would get, like the CBS show when I first came home. And Yandy Smith is also my partner, by the way.
What up, Yandy?
So, yes, shout out to Yandy and Tamika Mallory.
What up, Tamika?
Yes,
love both those queens.
Yeah, so having strong supportive sisters like that just keep me focused. And really, to be honest with you, Charlamagne, for me, it's all about the cause. So we do programs right now in the schools. So we bring coding and graphic design and, fashion design to schools and give Black kids ways to create income legitimately. So again, I knew that my thing was I wanted that money, and I know them kids want that money too, but I'm here to tell them, listen, don't do what I did, because if you do what I did, this is going to be the results. But here's a way that we can help you secure the bag legitimately. So we just went into Newark, New Jersey, shout out to Westside High School, and we created a whole curriculum there for their at-risk kids. And the changes of the befores and afters is just like incredible. So it's activism in another level, because what it is actually going out there doing the work. So Tamika has a class coming up in Taft High School that she's about to do. Yandy's doing several classes with kids all across the city, and we're doing what we love. So we staying on purpose.
So you had 12 and a half, you did 9.
Yes.
You still on parole?
Yes.
So with you being kind of a whistleblower, you know what I'm saying, is there like a risk to advocating for your cause while on parole?
It's a risk, but can I be honest with you? Can I be dead honest with you? I'm ready to die for the cause. See, that's a difference. See, you got to be careful of a person who's not scared to die for the cause, because I understand that this is injustice and somebody has to speak up for it. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm not scary. Whatever you're going to do to me, you did. What I can tell you is I'm clean. Y'all can watch me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I ain't doing nothing I'm not supposed to do, and I keep the cameras around me. That's another important thing. You understand what I'm saying? Right. I'm going to keep the cameras around me. So if you want to come for me, let's go. Like, it just is what it is, and I'm not afraid to die. But the question to them becomes, are they afraid? And let me tell you about those kind of people. The thing that they hate or fear the most is media. They fear media. So if you're talking about a person, that's all they care. Anything else, they don't care about.
That's a fact.
Okay? But once you start exposing it and throwing media time, ooh, Jimmy, I don't want any parts of that. You just sit her on. Sit her on.
That's a fact.
So for me, it's showtime. Lights, cameras, action, what y'all want to do.
Now, what about your relationship with your kids while you were locked up? Because they were very young when you went away. And during that time, how did you explain everything to them? And then coming home, how has it been?
It was just so... If you ask me what I regret the most about everything that I've done, is the pain that I've caused my children. Because to be absent from your mother, for your mother to miss graduations and Christmases and, your first period, your prom. I have not gone to one graduation from my kids yet, because I just came home. So for them to have to go through that, man, it killed me to watch that. But I'm so grateful for my parents. So, by the way, my mother was a school teacher for 30 years. My father was a transit supervisor. So they're very, very, good, real estate investor as well. So my kids had good things, but they didn't have me.
Right.
My kids love me though. They love the work that I'm doing. They love that I'm staying down for the cause. So they've forgiven me. So I'm just grateful. A lot of people don't have that. A lot of people's kids resent them. So I'm grateful for the relationships. But one of the things I did to maintain a close relationship with my children while I was behind bars, we started businesses together. So on the visiting room floor, I would talk to my son about his aspirations and dreams, and I would help them take that to, and turn it into reality. And that's kind of like what kept us connected. And now my son is an aspiring rapper. My daughter has like 3, 4, 5 jobs that she does, and they're doing with 4.0 students. Like, I'm just blessed, but it's definitely, having children while incarcerated as a woman, that's a difficult thing to deal with.
All right, and what is some things you would say, having been in prison, in a women's prison for 9 years, need to change within that system?
Well, really, to be honest with you, there's no such thing as rehabilitation behind the wall. So that was one of the reasons why I created my curriculum. Because at the end of the day, if you just lock someone up and you throw away the key, how will they change? So when we get in prison, we're only around people who've done crimes way worse than ours. So really, the meetings consist of, oh, can I go to your state, especially in the Fed? So let's talk about Fed girls, okay? Because it's a little bit different. So we have women from all over the country house with us. So you meet the Connect in Texas. You meet the Connect over in Cali. So everybody together, it's like a mastermind
it's like a networking
So when y'all get out,
session.
y'all setting up a whole nother plan to land y'all right back in there.
Correct. So even like, okay, so shout out to the Pink Panther Clique. That's my group of friends that are all doing incredible things from coming home. And these are all ballers in their own right from different cities and different states. But again, now we're channeling our energy the right way. So I was going back to, there's no curriculums and programs for change. Like, so women commit crimes because generally we suffer from low self-esteem. We don't value ourselves. So anyone that's willing to put themselves in jeopardy doesn't value themselves. So instead of building up the esteem and, trying to deal with some of the root cause of the issues, and matter of fact, more of us have been abused than not. So if you don't deal with the root core of those problems, you're never changing the individual. You're just setting them back up for failure when you have them exit and tell them, okay, just go again. So really one of the things that I'm really hard on right now, I'm creating a program to be an alternative to incarceration. So it took me 5 years, by the way, to develop a program. It's a 9-month program, comprehensive, for women to actually deal with the issues that they're going through and to keep them out of prison. Why don't you fix them instead of just locking them up and throwing away the key?
Yeah, that's why I hate that they call them correctional facilities. Y'all ain't trying to correct shit.
Nah. There's no, I did 9. I'm telling you, I ended up doing the RDAP program, which is in the Feds. That's the Residential Drug and Alcohol Abuse Program. And if you take this program, you get a year off your sentence. And I can tell you that there were good things that I learned in that program, but most people don't even go to it. So at the end of the day, there's nothing there. So all that time I just sat, I crocheted, I knitted, I worked out. You know what I'm saying? I watched Love and Hip Hop. You feel me? So there was nothing really to do to change my mind. I just had a mother that was relentless. So my mother was like, baby, we're going to publish these books. So not only did I publish books for myself, I also became a platform to help other women publish books.
You have to be really self-motivated in ways for things to happen because they're not going to give you.
So I ran my own business
tools
inside the jail. So for me, it was like, okay, how we going to get this money? We're going to write these books. We're going to get these show ideas together. So when we come home, we're going to hit the streets running. And that's what I did. I put my team with me and we all did our thing. Everybody started writing books and we came home, hit the streets. A lot of rappers, shout out to Jadakiss, who's like my brother. He took care of my son while I was behind bars, and he started posting our pictures, and our pictures started going viral. So we had all the cute prison pictures, all the fly girls with the little lipstick and the makeup on and all that, and our pictures started going viral. So as each of us went home, people started following our stories, and now we have some upcoming documentaries. We got a show in the works that we're doing with Yandy Smith. So, good things is happening.
Yandy, you beat me to it, goddammit. And I sure was putting my bid in.
Yeah, man.
This is an amazing story.
Yeah, so, really what I want to say to people out there is, regardless of what you go through, know that God has a purpose and a plan. And he can really take your mistakes and your mess and just turn it into a triumph if you allow him to. It's how you see it. So what really for me was the changing point was looking for the good that could come out of my bad situation. So I purposely looked for it and I molded that thing until I could see it, pit bull focus. And now, you know what? I'm living it. So that's what it is.
Well, thank you so much, Jamila T. Davis.
Wow.
The high price I had to pay. I know y'all all want to read this book now.
Go
so
grab
make sure
it.
you get that.
That's
make sure you
what's
follow
up.
her.
Where can they get it?
Where can people find you?
Yes, you can go Amazon.com, my books, Jamila T. Davis. Follow me on Instagram at Jamila T. Davis. That's Jamila T. Davis. And I'm also on Facebook and Twitter.
Word. It's the Breakfast Club.